But for me personally, I probably won't because I never want to shortchange my audience and my fans.
Chris Tucker, the young man from Atlanta who once had the whole world in stitches with his role as Smokey in Friday 1995, is forever remembered as one of Hollywood's comedic firecrackers. But there's a haunting paradox that has followed him throughout his career. While audiences revere Friday as a classic, Tucker himself refuses to rewatch even a single scene of his own performance in the film. What began as an ordinary Friday on screen turned into a landmark moment in the history of African-American comedy, opening the doors for Tucker to become an A-list star. Yet behind the explosive laughter, one particular scene became a blind spot he never wanted to revisit. Fans yearned for Smokey's return. Hollywood had multi-million-dollar contracts lined up, but Tucker firmly declined, as if fleeing from the very success that had launched him to the top. What would cause a comedy star at his peak to turn his back on the role that made him a legend? Was it simply due to religious conviction, or was there a deeper secret behind the choice between fame and personal values? The answer lies in that very Friday of 1995, the fateful day that made Chris Tucker a legend, but also bound him to a memory he would spend his life avoiding. Let's dive into the story of Chris Tucker right now. To understand why Chris Tucker made such a resolute decision regarding the role of Smokey, we can't simply look at that moment in 1995. The answer lies deeper in the journey of the youngest son of the Tucker family growing up in Atlanta, who early on revealed a gift for making people laugh and a yearning to break out beyond the confines of his neighborhood. It was that very childhood that laid the foundation for his explosive comedic style and the unwavering personal values he later brought into his career. The childhood of a little comic in Atlanta. If you only knew Chris Tucker through his on-screen performances, it would be easy to believe he was born with boundless energy, a tireless laugh machine. But few would guess that behind that high-pitched voice, rapid-fire delivery, and endless outbursts of laughter was the story of a youngest child growing up in a working-class household in Atlanta, Georgia. It was those formative years that shaped both his mischievous personality and his inner resilience traits that would one day make him a unique star in Hollywood. Chris Tucker was born on August 31, 1971 in Atlanta. He was the youngest of 6 siblings, the son of Mary Louise and Norris Tucker, strict Pentecostal believers. His parents ran a small cleaning business with a modest but stable income. The Tucker home was always cramped, filled with the chatter and laughter of 6 kids and the lingering scent of cleaning chemicals from his father's work. As the youngest child, Chris quickly understood that if he wanted attention, he needed a unique way to stand out. And his way wasn't to be the smartest or the naughtiest, but to make everyone laugh. From elementary school, Tucker was already obsessed with impersonating famous characters. His biggest idols were Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, 2 African-American comedy legends. He would often stand in front of the mirror mimicking Michael Jackson's voice and dance moves. His family and friends burst out laughing. And for Tucker, that laughter was the most precious reward. He once said, "When you're the youngest, you have to find a way to survive." For me, comedy was the weapon. During his time at Columbia High School, Tucker was well known as the class clown. Though his grades were never top tier, he was always the center of attention. Teachers were both exasperated and amused by his constant antics. On one occasion, Tucker imitated the stern voice of the principal in the middle of class, and the room exploded in laughter. From then on, the nickname class clown stuck. But behind those waves of laughter was a serious dream to become a professional comedian. In the 1980s, Atlanta wasn't exactly a comedy hub, but Tucker still found ways to hone his craft. He performed at small church events and community gatherings. His mother, Mary Louise, though strict, supported him as long as he didn't neglect school. This balance between a strong religious upbringing and a passion for the stage helped shape the dual sides of Tucker, the carefree jokester on stage and the devoted believer off stage. After graduating high school, Chris Tucker made a bold decision to leave Atlanta in pursuit of a bigger dream. At age 19, he arrived in Los Angeles, the mecca of American comedy. With no connections and little money, Tucker started from the bottom, performing at small comedy clubs, often unpaid or for just a few $dozen. He worked various odd jobs by day to get by, and chased his dream on cramped stages by night. That courage quickly bore fruit. Local audiences were drawn to his unique style, a piercingly high voice machine gun delivery, and sharp punchlines. Especially memorable was his uncanny ability to bring Michael Jackson to life on stage, delighting crowds with every appearance. This earned him a spot on HBO's Def Comedy Jam in the early 1990s, a show that launched many African-American comedy stars. Every time Tucker appeared, he electrified the room, bringing audiences to their feet. Looking back, Chris Tucker's childhood wasn't marked by dramatic hardship, but it was the blend of being the funny youngest child, his family's religious values, and a burning desire to escape the limits of Atlanta that provided the raw material for his future career. Those childhood laughs weren't just fleeting moments of fun in a house with 6 kids. They were the very beginnings of Tucker's signature style, always different, always memorable, and never afraid to go too far just to leave a lasting impression. And from those early years, a path began to unfold from the little boy mimicking Michael Jackson in the mirror to the man who would one day grace the Hollywood screen as Smokey in Friday, a role that made him a star, but also tied him to inner struggles over faith and career. From small stages to Hollywood lights. Shortly after arriving in Los Angeles in the early 1990s, Tucker started from scratch. During the day, he took on odd jobs cleaning, lifting, anything that could help pay for a room. At night, he roamed the small comedy clubs, performing for crowds that sometimes numbered only a few dozen. Often he was paid with a meal or a couple of $20 bills. But for Tucker, every time he held a microphone was an opportunity to prove himself. Tucker's style left a strong impression, a piercingly high voice, rapid-fire delivery, like a rap verse combined with flexible facial expressions. He frequently impersonated Michael Jackson, mimicking his walk voice and signature spins. The crowds loved it so much that many people came to the clubs just to see the tall, skinny black guy who does Michael Jackson. His big break came when he was chosen to appear on HBO's Def Comedy Jam, a breeding ground for black comedy stars. It was also the platform that launched names like Martin Lawrence and Dave Chappelle. Tucker's television appearances didn't just bring laughs, they showcased a one-of-a-kind personality, an uncontrollable yet captivating energy. Critics dubbed him the heir to Eddie Murphy's energy, a comparison not easily earned at the time. After Def Comedy, Jam, Tucker began receiving offers from Hollywood. His small role in House Party 3 1994 didn't make a splash, but it was enough to catch the attention of young directors. The real turning point came in 1995 when he landed the role of Smokey in Friday. This is a story that will be explored more deeply later, but to put it briefly, the role of Smokey turned Chris Tucker into a national phenomenon. With a budget of only $3.5 million, the film grossed $27 million, and Tucker went from fresh face to a name every producer wanted. But Tucker didn't stop there. He proved he wasn't just a one-role actor. In 1997, he appeared in 2 major films, Money Talks alongside Charlie Sheen, and The Fifth Element, directed by Luc Besson. In Money Talks, he played a fast-talking thief, a role that showed he could carry a full-length film. The Fifth Element brought Tucker to a global audience in the role of Ruby Rhod, an eccentric MC with outrageous costumes. Though a supporting character, Ruby Rhod became one of the film's most memorable figures, confirming Tucker's irresistible screen presence. The true peak arrived in 1998 when Tucker was paired with Jackie Chan in Rush Hour. The contrast between the loudmouth American cop and the quiet Chinese agent created a rare on-screen chemistry. The film wasn't just a box office hit, earning over $244 million worldwide, it also made Tucker one of the highest-paid comedy actors in Hollywood. In just a few short years, the mischievous youngest son from Atlanta had become a box office king. Rush Hour's success led to 2 sequels released in 2001 and 2007. Notably, for Rush Hour 3, Tucker was paid $25 million, a record-breaking sum for a comedy actor at the time. This placed him among the highest-paid stars in Hollywood alongside names like Tom Cruise and Tom Hanks. Yet what stood out was Tucker's refusal to chase quantity. Between 1998 and 2007, outside of Rush Hour, he appeared in very few major projects. He was highly selective, only accepting roles that aligned with his values. However, Tucker's career also experienced periods of silence. After Rush Hour 3, he all but vanished from Hollywood. Rumors swirled about financial issues, tax troubles, and complicated personal relationships. At the same time, Tucker began devoting more time to his faith. A devout Christian, he took part in ministry, performed at charity events, and distanced himself from roles that conflicted with his beliefs. Despite his absence, Tucker was never forgotten. In 2012, he returned in a small role in Silver Linings Playbook, a film that received several Oscar nominations. Though his appearance was brief, his natural humor delighted audiences. In 2016, He joined the cast of Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, directed by Ang Lee, continuing to prove his ability to handle quieter, more nuanced roles, so different from his explosive early performances. Outside of film, Tucker is also a versatile performer. He continued doing stand-up touring nationally and internationally. In 2015, Netflix released Chris Tucker Live, marking his first stand-up special on a global streaming platform. The special reaffirmed Tucker's standing even far from the Hollywood spotlight. He remained a top-tier comic capable of making audiences from America to Europe burst into laughter. Looking at the full arc, Chris Tucker's career can be summed up in 3 phases: the breakout from Def Comedy Jam and Friday, the rise to superstardom with Rush Hour, and a period of careful selection where he appeared less frequently, but always left a mark. Now in his 50s, Tucker remains one of the rare comedians admired by both Hollywood and global audiences, not just for his talent, but also for his integrity in choosing the roles he plays. To talk about Chris Tucker's career without mentioning Friday, the hit film released in the mid-1990s, would be a glaring omission. It was this very film that transformed him from a promising comedy talent known only to club audiences and small supporting roles into a household name across America. If in those early years Tucker was simply making quiet waves in local clubs or leaving fleeting impressions in lesser-known films, then Friday was the real launchpad that pushed him across the line from up-and-coming to silver screen star. The film Friday 1995, When an Ordinary Day Created a Legend. Some films don't need grand settings or massive budgets to make history. They succeed through authenticity and a uniquely subtle charm. Friday, the buddy comedy released in April 1995, is one such case. Directed by F. Gary Gray and written by Ice Cube and DJ Pooh, the film began with a simple idea to tell the story of what seems like just another Friday in south-central Los Angeles, but one filled with trouble. The 2 main characters, Craig Ice Cube and Smokey Chris Tucker, owe a drug dealer $200 and must find a way to repay the debt within 10 hours. It may sound like a minor issue, but the series of hilarious mishaps reflects a broader portrait of life and culture within the suburban African-American community, filled with tension, hardship, and plenty of humor. What truly set the film apart was the character Smokey, a role that turned Chris Tucker from a promising comedian into a nationally recognized film star. Smokey is a weed-smoking, fast-talking troublemaker who always seems to drag himself and his friend into chaos. But under Tucker's portrayal, Smokey transcended the negative stereotype. With a natural performance, rapid-fire dialogue like a rap flow, expressive facial gestures, and sharp improvisational instincts, Tucker transformed Smokey into a funny yet authentic character bursting with the spirit of the streets. Viewers found him both annoying and endearing, like that one loud but lovable friend everyone has in their group. Critics at the time were full of praise. They called Tucker the film's energy bomb, comparing him to a young Eddie Murphy for his ability to steal the scene within minutes. The Los Angeles Times described his performance as natural funny, and so impactful, it's irreplaceable. Indeed, Wikipedia acknowledges Friday as Tucker's breakout role, paving the way for many major opportunities in his later career. The film wasn't just an artistic success, it was also a commercial hit. With a modest budget of only $3.5 million, Friday grossed over $27 million, nearly 8 times its investment, proving its strong appeal. New Line Cinema, the film's distributor, called it a comedic phenomenon of the 90s, as it delivered both laughs and an honest portrayal of black youth life in LA's suburbs. But Friday's impact didn't stop at the box office. It quickly became part of American pop culture. Quotes from the film, especially by Felicia, uttered by the character Felicia played by Angela Means, escaped the screen and became catchphrases, eventually evolving into popular internet memes years later. The character Debo, the infamous neighborhood bully, even became a nickname for several NFL players, symbolizing sheer size and strength. The influence of Friday reached such heights that famed director Quentin Tarantino included it in his list of 20 favorite films from 1992-2009. For Tarantino, Friday was more than just a comedy. It was an authentic slice of American life in the 90s, wrapped in humor but leaving a long-lasting impression. More than 2 decades have passed, and Friday still thrives. A new generation, despite not growing up with the film, continues to quote it, use its memes, and see Tucker's Smokey as an icon of natural charm and wit. For Tucker, the role was both a launchpad that led him to bigger films like Rush Hour, and a massive shadow he was never willing to be tied down by again. Still, no one can deny without Friday in 1995, there would be no Chris Tucker as we know him today. Friday proves that sometimes all it takes is one ordinary day, one small story, and one unforgettable performance to make history. And that is the power of cinema, the power to turn simple laughter into cultural legacy, and to transform a young actor into an unforgettable icon. The role of Smokey and Chris Tucker's enduring legacy. From the moment he appears on screen, Smokey radiates a unique energy, a weed-smoking, fast-talking, mischievous guy who always manages to make everything more complicated. Yet under Tucker's performance, the character is far from irritating. On the contrary, audiences see in Smokey a friendly, witty, and oddly familiar charm, like that neighborhood friend who talks too much, but somehow feels indispensable. With his over-the-top delivery, rapid-fire dialogue, sharp comedic timing, and unforgettable facial expressions, Tucker turned Smokey into a cultural icon forever linked to his name. What's remarkable is how Tucker infused Smokey with an aura that is nearly impossible to replicate. Everyday lines spoken in his high-pitched voice with perfectly timed emphasis became part of everyday language. Lines like, "I'll come get you, nigga," or his exaggerated frowns and head shakes in absurd situations instantly stuck in viewers' minds. Even the line "Bye Felicia," originally said by Ice Cube, became forever associated with the world of Friday and the distinct brand of comedy that Tucker helped craft. Years later, the internet became flooded with memes, impressions, and quotes of Smokey, showing just how timeless the character had become. Smokey's impact extended far beyond the African American community. It rippled through American pop culture as a whole. He came to represent the essence of street-level comedy, where mundane neighborhood scenarios were blown up into moments of laughter. This image stood alongside other iconic characters of the 90s, making Friday a must-watch for anyone seeking to understand suburban black life during that era. Even Debo, the neighborhood bully in the film, became a common nickname in sports circles, proof that the characters of Friday had truly permeated American cultural life. For Chris Tucker, Smokey was an irreplaceable breakthrough. Before Friday, he was just an emerging face on a few comedy club stages, with only a brief appearance in House Party 3. But after Friday, he immediately caught the attention of major producers. Just 3 years later, he signed on to star in Rush Hour alongside Jackie Chan, a franchise that grossed hundreds of millions of dollars and made Tucker one of the highest-paid comedians in Hollywood, earning $25 million for Rush Hour 3 alone. That level of success had its roots in the image of Smokey, the role that proved to the world Tucker's uncontainable charisma and one-of-a-kind comedic energy. Yet Smokey also became a colossal shadow over Tucker's career. Even after going global with Rush Hour to many fans, he remained forever linked to the hilarious carefree stoner friend of 1995. Whenever Chris Tucker's name is mentioned, Smokey inevitably resurfaces as an inseparable part of his identity. This legacy is both a badge of honor and a burden, proof that a single role can leave a lasting mark, but also a challenge when trying to evolve into other roles and characters. Chris Tucker's Smokey is more than just a character. It's a testament to the power of natural acting, explosive comedic energy, and a star's ability to turn a small role into a legend. Even though he never returned for the sequel, Smokey lives on in the hearts of audiences, becoming one of the most unforgettable icons in African American comedy cinema of the 1990s. Why did Chris Tucker say no to Smokey again? After the phenomenal success of Friday in 1995, Chris Tucker's career path seemed wide open. His portrayal of Smokey was so unforgettable that audiences naturally assumed he would return for the sequel next Friday 2000. But when the project was launched, Tucker made a decision that stunned Hollywood. He declined the offer, even turning down a paycheck of $10–12 million. Behind that choice was a complex intersection of religious belief, financial considerations, and a desire to control his professional image. Chris Tucker was born into a family with a strict religious foundation. His mother was a devout Pentecostal, and Tucker was raised in the church. However, it wasn't until after the success of Friday, when fame cast its blinding light, that Tucker truly reconnected with his faith in a profound way. He has shared in multiple interviews that portraying a weed-smoking, foul-mouthed, reckless character left him feeling conflicted. In one candid conversation, Tucker said, "I didn't want to represent weed smoking on screen. I didn't want to keep doing that when I had found my faith in God." It was this awakening that drove him to preserve a public image rooted in positivity and inspiration, rather than continue playing a character who reflected the darker side of street life. Turning down next Friday wasn't just a matter of belief, it was also a major financial test. At the time, Ice Cube and the producers were willing to offer Tucker $10–12 million, a massive sum in the late 1990s. For a rising young actor, it could have secured his financial future. But Tucker chose to walk away. This decision drew even more attention when a few years later, Tucker encountered financial troubles involving tax debt with the IRS. The media speculated that had he accepted the role in Next Friday or Friday After Next, he could have avoided those difficulties. Yet Tucker remained steadfast, insisting that money is never more important than staying true to your faith and personal values. Beyond religion, there was also a professional motivation. After Friday, Tucker didn't want to be typecast as Smokey the loudmouthed stoner. He once said, "One of the reasons I said no was because I didn't want to keep doing that role. I needed to move forward." And indeed, that decision opened the door for a broader range of roles. Just 2 years later, Tucker appeared in Money Talks and The Fifth Element, then reached global stardom with Rush Hour 1998. Had he continued playing Smokey, he might have been forever pigeonholed as that weedhead friend instead of becoming an international action comedy star. Not everyone agreed with Tucker's choice. Many Friday fans were disappointed, believing the series lost its soul without Smokey. Even now, people still ask what would have happened if Chris Tucker had said yes to the sequel. Yet from another perspective, his absence only strengthened Smokey's legendary status. By not returning, the character remained forever etched in the audience's minds as the fresh, irreplaceable Smokey of 1995. This inadvertently protected the role from being diluted by overexposure. Walking away from Friday after the first film clearly reflects a life philosophy. Chris Tucker values morality and self-respect over fame and fortune. In an industry where many actors compromise to maintain relevance, Tucker chose the harder path, saying no to a lucrative franchise in the name of personal conviction. This choice also helped shape his public image, a principled comedian who refuses to play roles that clash with his beliefs. Even when that came at the cost of financial hardship, Tucker stayed true to his decision. Looking back, that decision brought both challenges and opportunities. Tucker gave up tens of millions of dollars and the chance to remain tied to the Friday brand. But in return, he got Rush Hour, a franchise that made him an international superstar, and at the time the highest-paid comedy actor in Hollywood. Meanwhile, the image of Smokey remained untouched in the public's memory, never worn out by sequels. This created an ironic paradox. By turning it down, Tucker made the role immortal. The personal life of a star who chose his own path. Today at 54, Chris Tucker still possesses an undeniable magnetism, but it no longer stems from back-to-back blockbuster roles like during his peak years. Instead, he has chosen to shine on the stage of life, a quieter yet enduring journey. Tucker continues to tour globally with his Legend Tour, where laughter becomes a bonding force that connects audiences to positive values. He doesn't just tell jokes, he shares faith, personal experiences, and reflections on life, turning each performance into a journey of connection rather than mere entertainment. Alongside his stage career, Tucker devotes himself deeply to philanthropy. The Chris Tucker Foundation, which began by supporting AIDS patients, has evolved into a reputable organization focused on scholarships for underprivileged children, aid for the homeless, and creating opportunities for young people. In 2025 alone, Tucker organized the Celebrity Golf Tournament in Stockbridge, bringing together numerous stars to raise funds for the community. These efforts demonstrate that for him, fame is not a tool for self-glorification, but a means to give back. Though he rarely appears on screen, Tucker has mastered the art of showing up at just the right moments. In 2023, he appeared in Air, a film about the origin of the Nike brand, once again, underscoring his careful approach to project selection. Before that, audiences were charmed by his performance in Silver Linings Playbook 2012. Each time he reappears, even in supporting roles, Tucker leaves a lasting mark, proving that his acting spark has never faded. In real life, Chris Tucker presents himself as humble and grateful. On social media, he often shares simple words of thanks. "It's my birthday, and I feel so blessed. I thank God for life and family and friends." A heartfelt message that reflects a spirit of gratitude and fullness. He once jokingly shared that when he began earning around $20 million a year, his whole family quit their jobs to join him, a story that's both humorous and revealing of his deep ties and sense of responsibility toward loved ones. Looking at Chris Tucker today, one can clearly see the red thread connecting his past to his present: integrity and loyalty to self. He once dared to say no to opportunities that seemed impossible to turn down, all in order to preserve his faith and personal values. And now he continues to prove that the light of a star doesn't have to shine through constant movie roles. It can radiate from the laughter he shares on stage, the hands he extends to help others, and the gratitude he expresses for life. That's how Chris Tucker continues to write his legacy, a legacy that lives not only in cinema, but also in the hearts of those who once laughed, once felt inspired by him. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to leave a comment sharing your thoughts on Chris Tucker's decision. We'd love to hear from you.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast.
There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now and during on screen.